So if you are struggling with your trades, make sure to watch this video in its entirety. Now, I've been investing in the stock market since 2016, and I've been trading in the stock market since 2017. I always try to differentiate between the two because they're completely different vehicles. Investing and trading, the approach that you're going to go into them is completely different. But with that said, back in 2017, I didn't practice something that was preached very often, which was journaling your trades. In fact, it wasn't until I read two classic books, with one of them being Reminiscence of a Stock Operator, as well as How to Trade Stocks, both based on or written by Jesse Livermore. Now, Jesse Livermore was arguably one of the greatest traders throughout history, where at one point he was even the richest man in the world after shorting the stock market during the Great Depression. And so throughout these two books, we often hear Jesse Livermore speak on journaling his trades. Now, this was something I didn't do when I first started trading because I always thought, well, my brokerage has pretty much all the information of when I entered, when I exited, for what price and what time. So I thought it was kind of redundant to go ahead and really put that in a trading journal. However, I was completely wrong. And this is because there is so much that you can learn from journaling your trades. Now, there are three main ways that you could go ahead and journal your trade. You have the traditional trading journal where you just physically write everything down. You also have Excel spreadsheets where you could go ahead and type everything in. And then of course there are softwares where you pay a monthly subscription where it pretty much just extracts the data from your brokerage and puts it in a nice clean interface. Now, fun fact, I had considered developing software for trading journals, but I've never done it. But to this day, the journal that I prefer to use, and of course it's not the journal style that you have to use, but it's just the style I prefer, is just having a physical trading journal where I go ahead and write everything down. Now, the reason I did this as opposed to having software or having an Excel spreadsheet is simply because I find that you learn better when you write things down. In fact, I believe there's studies that actually have proven that. But also, it's really to help keep myself accountable, right? Because at the end of the day, when you are typing something, it just doesn't feel as real as when you're actually taking time to write it down. Or if you have it extracted into a software, again, it's just taking the information and it's not really holding yourself accountable. See, when I have a day where I don't follow a rule that I tend to try to follow, I write that down in my journal. And so this helps me really get better at reducing my mistakes. Because if I make a mistake and then I take time to write it down, but then the next day I go ahead and make the same mistake and then I write it down, it just seems ridiculous to day after day make the same mistake and pretty much write it down. You seem like a complete, I don't want to say that word, but idiot, just making the same mistake and writing it down. You're just like, okay, well, I don't want to scold myself by having to write this down in the journal again. Maybe I should go ahead and make sure I avoid that mistake. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be perfect. Mistakes are still going to happen. I mean, I've been trading and investing for a while now, and I still make trading mistakes. It's not that this is going to get easier over time. You do get better, but it necessarily doesn't make the landscape any easier. But by holding yourself accountable, it definitely helps mitigate the risk of you actually making the same mistakes that you had before. Because again, it's almost like holding yourself accountable and scolding yourself when you're writing it down. Now again, someone else may just like the software that extracts it and may be much more time efficient, or maybe you prefer having the Excel spreadsheet. Me personally, again, it's just journaling for me because I feel like it's much more of a better way to hold myself accountable. But another benefit of journaling your trades is that you get to understand yourself a lot better, and you also get to recognize a lot of patterns that you may have overlooked. For example, I started realizing that some of my best trades take place in the beginning session when the market opens, as well as the last remaining hour of the market. Now, this makes sense to me considering that those are times when there is a lot of volume in the market. But again, this is just for me. Some individuals may actually do better trading in the middle of the day when things are slower, but at least I got to identify that pattern by journaling my trades. And yes, my brokerage obviously had the time and date when these trades were made, but it's different when you actually start journaling it and tracking it yourself. Just like any other business, you should be tracking your metrics and seeing where you currently are and what goals you're trying to obtain. But at the end of the day, only you can do what's best for yourself. However, if you're someone who's struggling with your trades, then I highly recommend journaling your trades, and treating trading like a separate business. With that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys found some utility in this. And with that said as well, make sure to watch this next video right over here where I break down my trading rules.